My 29F husband, 29M, and I reconciled after a 3-year separation, but I feel awkward and shy around him now. Marrying me was my husband's big act of rebellion against his family. We were both 20 at the time and thought we knew what we were getting ourselves into. His family tried to convince him to wait until we were older, but they had been controlling his life since he was born and forcing him onto a path he didn't know he wanted, so he refused to listen. For me, I had never had a good relationship with my family. My mum died when I was young, and my dad remarried and sort of forgot about me. I was definitely the black sheep, and my family didn't even react when they found out I had got married without inviting any of them. For the first 2 years, things were fantastic. I honestly have never been happier. Then my husband decided he wanted to start a business, and things fell apart. It was no longer a priority for him. He was constantly working and traveling. We barely saw one another. His family was super proud of him and angry at me for complaining. I remember just before I left, his mother gave me a long lecture about how this is how things were in their family and I should stop trying to ruin his future. Anytime I would voice my unhappiness, he would promise things would get better, but he never really made an effort to improve things. Eventually, he started getting angry at me for being unhappy. One day before he left for a trip, we had a massive argument which ended with him saying, "If you don't like it, you can always leave." So that's what I did. Before he got back, I moved out and in with my friends. Around this time, he had wanted to relocate us to his grandparents' native country. I hadn't wanted to go. When he got back and saw I was gone, he sent me a message to let me know he would be moving, and I could continue living in our marital home. I was pretty devastated since I assumed my leaving would actually trigger him into fighting to fix our marriage. For the next 3 years, I didn't see or speak to my husband once. The only communication we had was that he would continue moving money into our joint account. Then he accidentally sent me a message and we started talking again. After 6 months of talking, he asked if he could come home and we could work on things. I agreed because living on your own in the middle of a pandemic is awful and lonely. He's been back for about a month and things have been so awkward for me. He's changed so much in the past 3 years. He's so self-assured and relaxed whilst I feel like I'm constantly flustered around him. I feel like I'm always making up excuses to avoid him because I just don't know how to act around him. The worst part is that he has definitely noticed. A few days ago, I was in the kitchen when he walked in, and as I was leaving, I could hear him laughing to himself. He's also taken to texting me instead of trying to initiate conversation in person. He'll even text me if we're in the same room now. I know I'm making things weird and I really don't want to, but I have no idea how to get over it. I've never been like this around him before, not even when we first started dating. I don't know what's wrong with me. How do I stop feeling so awkward and shy around him? Too long didn't read. My husband and I separated 3 years ago after one of many fights which ended in him telling me I could always leave if I wasn't happy. / 6 months ago, he reached out and we started talking. He asked if he could come back home to work on things and I agreed, but I can't stop feeling awkward and shy around him. He's been back for about a month and things have been so awkward for me. He's changed so much in the past 3 years. He's so self-assured and relaxed whilst I feel like I'm constantly flustered around him. I have to ask whether the hard truth is his family was right and he needed to do what they said he had to do to grow up to be a true adult. There are so many stories on these subs that complain about ASO, who is a shiftless unemployed loser. Have you guys sat down and talked about what being married again would look like? What dating would look like between you two? I think that you both need to treat this like the start of a new relationship, rather than something you can slip right back into. People change so much in their 20s, you both are not the same people that you were at 20 and probably not at 26. If he wants to really try again, he should be on board with the dating and getting to really know you. If he's not, then he's not really looking to be back in the marriage so much as have a roommate. It's not on you by yourself to get you guys back into a relationship. It has to be a two-way street. We talked about the marriage whilst separated, but the reality has been different than I expected and we never spoke about it again in person. We haven't talked about dating again, but I think you're right. We need to. We did think things would just go back to how they were during the good times without really considering how different we both are now. Have you considered couples counseling and therapy for yourself to deal with the way you were affected by the marriage before the separation? So, you agreed he'd move back and you'd work on things, but it sounds like all he did is move back, and there is no working on things. You can't just go back to husband and wife after 3 years apart. You're strangers to each other now. You were barely out of adolescence the last time you saw each other, and you've had 3 years with no contact, living completely separate lives. He can't just move in and expect to pick up where you left off. If you want a shot at a healthy relationship with each other, you both need to put in some effort to build a connection. Maybe try marriage counseling. But really, people change a lot in their early 20s, and that was the time you were apart. So given that you've both changed a lot and the amount of time you were apart, you shouldn't be talking about resuming your relationship if you want to stay married, but instead speak of starting a relationship, brand new, like you would with someone you just met, because you two don't know each other at all anymore. You need to get to know each other as the people you are now, and figure out if you're even compatible for a relationship. Date while living apart. So he came back and you guys just sort of resumed married life as if 3 years never passed. No counseling, no dating before living together again. This whole thing seems kind of off. I, 20F, had a crush on a now unavailable friend, 21M, who, along with his new GF, is now asking me what's wrong. What do I tell them? I, F20, have a group of friends at university, but the two I'm closest to are Tyler, M21, and Ashley, F21. While we're all part of the larger cohort, the three of us are close. We're in a lot of classes together and meet up multiple times a week to hang out. COVID isn't as much of a concern in my country, so we can meet in person. Over the past few months, I've started to realize that I liked Tyler as more than a friend. I never told him, the feelings were too new and I was shy, and now I'm glad I didn't, because Tyler was apparently crushing on Ashley. They got together at Christmas, when he was visiting her family. I care about them both and am happy for them, but my own private feelings as well as their new relationship have made our formerly stable trio feel awkward. When we hang out, I feel like I'm now imposing on their time together and they would rather not have me there. I decided to pull back a little bit, just to make sure I wouldn't say anything that would upset them, as the last thing I want to do is turn this into drama, claiming to be busy for a few pub nights and study sessions, not responding to the group chat as often. I think they've both realized something is up, though, because Tyler and Ashley have both separately messaged me, asking if I'm okay, what's wrong, and if one of them did anything to bother me. What the hell do I say? I do not want to tell them about my crush. I don't want to make them feel awkward or uncomfortable about something they're so happy about, but I can't think of a plausible lie. They're both close friends that I don't want to lose, but I'm not sure what to do. TL, Doctor, my friends were oblivious to my crush on one of them and got together. Things are awkward. They're asking me what's wrong. What do I say? I'm dealing with some personal stuff right now that I don't want to talk about. I am okay, and I appreciate that you reached out. It's not a lie. It's enough of the truth to reassure them that you are not mad at them or anything, while also not being so much of the truth that you reveal your crush. Yeah, in this situation I do not think honesty is the best policy and you're doing a great job being mature and fair about the situation. Would keep your feelings to yourself to avoid causing problems for yourself and try to keep doing what you're doing. Eventually they'll get the hint. I would also just play the third wheel card if they keep bothering you. It can be awkward hanging out with a couple even if you don't have a crush on one of the parties. That's a totally fair reason not to want to hang out as much. If you don't feel comfortable continuing as a triad, that is up to you. On the other hand, would you want to hang out again if it didn't feel awkward? Maybe communicating your feelings about third wheeling could help, and if not, you're not obligated to be in a situation which makes you uncomfortable. Or, guys, y'all are sweet, but I'm not in the mood to third wheel tonight. Y'all have fun, I have other plans. I think your plan is fine. Wouldn't tell them about these feelings either. There's nothing positive to be gained from it. Keep being a bit busy to hang out while you work through your feelings. It's honestly the best plan. It's good for you while your feelings are awkward. It might also be good to hang out with them, but invite part of the larger friend group to join. That way you'll feel less like you're intruding on a date but still have some good hangout time with your friend. Just say you're busy, and try to be busy. Hang out with different friends, study or work, whatever gets your mind off this. I, 27F, feel lost that my, 29M, partner does not want a job. I, 27F, am currently in school about to complete my degree and move into the workforce. My partner, 29M, of 8 months has completed his degree, 3 years ago now, previously entered the workforce and realized he was miserable in his position, that was in line with his degree qualifications, so he quit after 5 months in the field to pursue his dream of becoming a writer. I fully support his dreams and desires for a career he loves, but am worried about a future where I may be the only one working while he contributes with his savings. He is not in a tight spot yet and he has a vague idea of when he will need to get a job when his savings begin running low. He is intelligent, kind, and lovely, and I do love him. I am worried about the future because I don't know how I will emotionally handle our living situation if I am at work all day and he is at home working on his dream, playing games and living off of his savings. I understand that he is comfortable, and he will pay his share of the expenses, but he won't even consider getting a part-time or seasonal job because he would rather spend all his energy on his writing and live off of his savings than work at both at the same time. He does not take classes, and he is not open to working in a field related to his dream, i.e. publishing or editing, because he only wants to self-publish. I hate to say, and think, it, but I fear that he may not be giving himself many options to succeed in the future, and I don't know if I can be with someone who doesn't want to work at all. I would feel a bit better if he had some of his own income coming in, even if it was from a job he only worked a couple days of the week, but he does not want to do so. I have spoken with him about his plans for the future, and other than working on his writing while he can live off of his savings, he does not really have much to say about it. His option for work in the vague future is to go back into his degree field when he absolutely has to for funds. I don't know what to do because I like him a lot and he makes me happy, but I feel frustrated and upset when I think about being with someone who has no desire to work. I have discussed feeling this way, but his response was that he didn't understand why I would be upset because he would support me if I wanted to follow my dreams. He got upset because he felt like I wasn't supportive of his plans due to me feeling insecure about him not working in the near future. I too have creative goals/dreams but will be working at the same time as pursuing them so I can support myself in the future. Has anyone been in this kind of situation? Do you have any advice? Too long didn't read. 27F, is worried about situation with partner, 29M, that doesn't want to work, lives off of savings to support themselves while pursuing dream of being a writer. It sounds like he has this 10-year-old's fantasy of what a writer is and how they live. He should really do some research before he condemns himself and you to a lot of struggle. Unless he's Stephen King or someone like that, there's next to zero chance that he will be able to be a writer, a self-published one at that, and do nothing else on the side. Most writers, especially the younger ones, have a job on the side, at least a part-time one, like writing or editing a magazine, giving lectures at different schools. Your BF is being incredibly unrealistic here and you have every right to be skeptical of his choice of career, or at least of the way he wants to pursue it. I would have an honest conversation about it. He wants you to blindly support him, which is not fair since he's choosing something really risky as a career and it could potentially affect you too. So if he wants your support and you want to stay and support him, you need to sit down alone, ask yourself what are all the questions you need the answers to in regards to his plans. How long will he try until he makes it? What if you get in trouble with money? How long does he expect you to support him financially? What happens if it falls through? If he wants your support, it's only fair that he answers some questions, makes a plan and be aware that being realistic and going through different scenarios does not mean you don't support him.